You're walking into family court believing things that feel true but aren't. What the internet told you, what labels social media put on you or your ex, that one of you is a narcissist, the other's toxic, that moms win, that dads lose. None of that is law. Family court doesn't fix families, it makes decisions when you can't. And when you build your case on narratives instead of reality, your child carries the cost. So let's get clear and understand what actually matters in court. We are your whistleblowing shrinks, Dr. Teralyn and therapist Jenn, and this is the Gaslit Truth Podcast. Before we set this whole conversation on fire, like, subscribe, ring that bell. If this show has ever put words to something you felt but couldn't explain it, supporting it matters.
And for those of you who are listening, Dr. Teralyn and I, we are deprescribers. What does that mean? It means we help you get off of psychiatric medication safely for the brain and for the body. So if that is something that you are interested in doing, please don't hesitate to send us an email at thegaslittruthpodcast@gmail.com. So let's welcome our guest to the show, Jason Wright. Welcome to the show, Jason.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Great. Everybody, Jason is an award-winning Austin family law attorney and the founder of the law office of Jason Wright. Licensed since 2012, Jason focuses on complex divorce, custody disputes, property division, and education law cases involving student discipline and special education enforcement. He's known as the lawyer who tells it like it is. Perfect for our show. Often reminding clients that fairness isn't how family law works. Instead, he helps families understand the legal rights, the trade-offs involved, and the long-term consequences of their decisions. Jason's been recognized by Super Lawyers and Best Lawyers, is a fellow of the Texas Bar Foundation, and serves on the board of directors for Volunteer Legal Services of Travis County. Please welcome to the show, Jason.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tells it
All
like
right,
it is. Let's call a spade a spade. I can't wait.
Yeah, I don't find sometimes people find out in the consultation it goes both ways. I'm interviewing them, they're interviewing me, but I don't find that it does them any good. I can sell them just like any other car salesman. I can tell them what they want to hear. I can get their retainer. We can go do some stuff, and I know what the result will be. But I just, it's not how I practice law. I'd rather tell them up front. Here are the facts. Based on what you're telling me, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's not going to happen. Here's what claim you don't have or do have. I have lots of isms, but one of my isms about principal fights. When we go fight about the principle of something, my kids my kids cost money too, so that's great. I'll tell them, the only family who's going to benefit from a principal fight is mine. And usually when I say that to them, they take a step back and reconsider what we're doing. But I just don't feel like it's better to tell them all the facts and let them make the decision, and
Right.
versus just blow smoke and make them think the things they want to hear, and then find out when we go to court, they're dead wrong. So that's how that works.
What do you consider a principal fight? Like what are principal fights?
Let me think of where it's obviously client specific, right? But a fight that's we're close to getting a deal, or we're close to, when they'll say to me things like, well, it's the principle of the matter, right? Like, I'm fighting about this because it's important to me. Like, I'm not doubting that it's important to you, but in the linear line of your family law case and where we are and how you're trying to get done or what you're trying to do, right? Agreements require compromise, and on both sides, nobody gets everything. If you want everything, you go to court. And so at some point in that line, someone's going to be upset about what they feel they're compromising on, or the thing they aren't getting, or this thing that they've been fighting about, and they don't want to let it go. I mean, and so, the most extreme absurd example of some of these things that I currently use is, in mediation once many years ago, we were almost done, but then came in and said, hey, well, she is upset about or wants to talk about the gift certificates to the Cheesecake Factory. And I honestly thought they were kidding, and I was something like, no,
Good
we
joke.
want those, but she can have the Chick-fil-A or something, and when you count the number, my hourly rate, the other attorney's hourly rate, the mediator's hourly, like,
God.
and but again, it wasn't about the gift certificates. It was
Mm-hmm.
about, oh my gosh, we're about to be done, the fight, all the finality of it, right?
Yeah,
That's an
yeah.
absurd example, but that there is nothing too small we can't fight about, right? When two
Mm.
people can't agree, the only decider is
Mm.
a judge. So if, for instance, they both wanted to plant a flag in the ground over Chick-fil-A gift cards, well, we'd have to take that to court, which is absurd. But I can't decide. Other lawyer can't decide. I've had a client, we were going to trial on certain things, and we couldn't agree on some property. But in the list of property that we presented to a judge was, I think, 6 or 8 blue rim glass margarita glasses that you can go buy at Target. And when I said, like, you can go buy them somewhere, I'll go buy some. Like, what's the deal? And the response is, we bought those in Mexico. It was part of, some trip. It was absurd, but right, it was the principle of the matter. Like, I want those things.
I think it's the
Okay,
emotion of the matter. I think
Yeah,
it's the
we
emotion of the
absolutely.
matter.
yeah.
Like, I'm
That's
unwilling to set down my pain. So my pain is going to
Mhm.
stand in these margarita glasses. Like,
That's right.
until my pain is acknowledged through these glasses, I can't move forward. And
That's right.
so, yeah, that's, to me, that's the principle. The principle is my pain.
well,
Mhm.
My pain remains unacknowledged in court.
and that's
Yeah.
okay. So as a
Or in mediation,
therapist,
right?
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We hear this. I hear this. I don't want to speak for you, Terry, but for myself, I hear this very frequently with my clients who are doing therapy and are also going through divorce court. They're in family court with their kids. That's something I hear a lot. But it's the principle of it. I am going to dig. I hear this a lot. I'm going to dig my heels in. I'm going to get what I want, take them for all they are worth.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All these very
He's like, now you're
subjective.
speaking my
Yeah,
language
yeah,
here.
right. I hear this all the
Yep.
time, right?
Yeah.
Very subjective states of being. Okay. And one of the cool things I think about when I think about being an attorney is you get to really pull like subjectivity out of the equation, which is kind of nice. Like I think about that idea and it's like, well, shit, if we could pull emotion out of something, like that would be really freaking great sometimes. Like it would be a lot easier, which is, I can see why you get resistance from people because the whole process is fueled by emotion for them. So here
Yeah.
you are on the other end going, yeah, feelings aren't facts.
Yeah. I mean, the law
Right?
doesn't care about your feelings. The courts don't care about your feelings. I mean,
No.
there's, as you alluded to in the bio, I mean, we do not use the F word. It is not, it doesn't exist. It's not, I don't allow anyone in the office to use it. We don't say fair. It doesn't exist. When a client, sometimes it becomes an irritant, but every time they use that word, it's almost like when you're, correcting a child on using curse words or something like that. When they say the word fair, it stops everything because we're not in the fair business, and there is no outcome I can get for someone that is fair. It just doesn't exist. One person's version of fair is another person's injustice, and there's no outcome that what we do is fair. So we don't use that word, but that is a huge block for almost every client
Mhm.
because we're human beings, and that's not how the world works, right? We
Mhm.
have this sense of fairness and justice and all these principles, uh, and so that's what we want, right? I mean, even when people are not aggressive, like for instance, if a client knows they're in the wrong, right? It's a cheating spouse, and they're just bad spouse, and they're not fighting the divorce, and they'll come and say, oh, I just want what's fair. I just want what's fair for me or fair for them. And like, well, that doesn't mean anything. Like,
Right.
because
Right.
your spouse wants
The
everything
real
because you
word
cheated,
is
right?
it's like you get what's legal. you
Yeah, you
get
get
what the law says
it.
you get, and
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. It's
right.
it's interesting because I see on there's like Facebook forums or like moms of the certain area in Facebook, and they're always looking for attorneys for divorces
Oh yeah,
and stuff. And they say like, I'm
probably
looking
a
for
bulldog.
a bulldog. Yes, a bulldog
Yes.
attorney. And
Mhm,
every
mhm.
time I'm like, I don't have a dog in this fight, but I so want to write, it doesn't matter. Like they're going to fight for the law. They're not going to fight for your emotions, right? They're not going to do that. And
Mhm.
if an
Well,
attorney
some
says they're
will.
going to well, okay,
Unfortunately,
tell us about that.
I mean,
Yeah, what does that look like? Mm-hmm.
there's lots of lawyers. I don't know what the score is now, but when I took the bar 12, 13 years ago or 14, whatever it is, you know, the score you had to get was equivalent to a D plus, right? And so the there's a lot of bar cards out there, and a lot of people, and people got to make a living and feed their family, but you know, that's not how I practice law. Of like, I'm just going to parrot whatever my client says. I'm just going to make whatever argument they want. I'm trying to help them find a resolution that gets them down the path, right? But yeah, that's a guiding principle of people's emotions, people's feelings, people. What I have said forever, and I'd be curious your take on this too, is, you know, people say that death and divorce are two of the most traumatic things that people will go through in their life. I often will reverse that. I think divorce is much more traumatic than death, because it's, you know, it's a primal rejection. It is, you know, death is terrible and horrible, and but conceptually we understand that things live and die. I mean, there's a way to grieve and process. Divorce, it's so fundamentally different in the sense of it's often a primal rejection of certain characteristics or, you know, individuals, and not only are you mourning the relationship dying and all that, but there's this rejection aspect that people internalize or fight against. I mean, that's another part of the puzzle that
Yep.
makes our cases good, bad, you know, all the stuff. But it's that human, emotional, chemical aspect that we deal with constantly. And we have people on all sides of the spectrum of, you know, they're angry, and they want to fight, or they want to punish, or they want to, you know, they want to get what's fair, they want to get what's right, or they want to make them pay. We have the other side that, you know, maybe they're the victims of it, or maybe they don't want this, or they're still floundering with the idea that this transition is going to happen. There's nothing to do to stop it. And so helping them bridge those feelings is difficult at times. To your point, I mean, it is hard to, I do disconnect, you know, try to not get into them emotionally, and I can't live and die by every client's tragic issue or their divorce. Or, I mean, I have to have some sort of distance, but it is hard at times. You know, I'm helping people with their kids and their money. They're two of the most personal things you can be dealing with. And when things don't go the way you want them to, or when they don't go a way that you had thought or anticipated, it can be difficult at times to have that disconnect. But we are often helping people ferry that emotional dance throughout the whole case.
Okay, so can we bring the mental health part into this conversation a little bit?
Yeah.
Unless Terry, there's something else you wanted to.
Go ahead.
I just cut you off. Okay,
Go right ahead.
Because I'm really curious about how much mental health does or does not matter in the scheme of family law here and in court. And what do you see, or what could you tell our listeners about this? Because I think that there's these opposite polarized thoughts about this, right? Like, my spouse is mentally ill. My spouse is diagnosed with all these things. Okay, so therefore that's going to put me in a favorable position. And then there's the flip opposite of it. And so I'm kind of, you know, or there's a lot of, we talk about this on the show a lot, but the labels that fly around with, well, my spouse is a narcissist, or my spouse is actually antisocial and they have a personality disorder. You know, how much does all of this actually matter?
Well, that's a big mouthful of question. So I appreciate it. I made some notes to kind of chart it down.
I see him writing.
Poor guy. He's like, here's
keeping up
Jen.
with us.
Jen can't ask a damn direct questions. I can never be an attorney. It's clear.
You use a lot of good words. Like, what I'd say universally, we hear narcissist, alienation, alienator, controlling, toxic. Like, these are, I mean,
abusive,
and chat GPT,
gaslighter.
you know, people come in all the time. Oh yeah, gaslighting, all the things, right?
Yeah.
And I can paint you stereotypical stories of who's telling me which one. It's not always a red flag, but sometimes it's a red flag when someone is just verbally vomiting all these taglines that they found. Because while it's not untrue, you know, these things are true, they exist, but it is fairly rare that someone is a actual diagnosed, you know, registered narcissist. Like that's a pretty big thing.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yeah, just because it matches a lot of descriptions on the internet doesn't make someone a narcissist, right? But
Yes.
I'm not going to
Preach.
win a lot of battles with clients arguing with them about that. Um,
Correct.
but I'm going to help them understand when and how that matters. And so, you know, the big part, if there's no children involved, it rarely matters. I mean, in Texas, right, we have various rules and guidelines with if we have people who are married and there's no children and we're disputing property, there are ways. So in Texas, we're a no fault divorce state, meaning if I don't like your taste in music, I can divorce you. You know, I don't have to have a reason. And but we do have 6 or 7 areas of fault. If we believe, if you want to say no, this isn't a no fault, this is a fault. We are getting divorced because he was unfaithful. Infidelity is a grounds for fault. He was cruel, or she's been cruel behavior, right? These kinds of things. Okay, you've listed that. It's extremely rare that the other side is going to agree that they did that thing,
Right.
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And so in court, a judge would have to agree and agree with your assessment that, okay, you have proven the elements of that. Let's call it cruelty. You've proven the elements of cruelty. So they are at fault. If finding them to be at fault of the dissolution of this marriage, all that does is it allows them to potentially give a disproportionate share of the assets to the other spouse.
Oh,
It's not a 1 +
interesting.
1. They don't have to. They can find them fault and say it's still a 50-50 division. But the reason that you would do that, the reason with no kids that you would bring up all these issues of cruelty or mental health or he was abusive, would be you're trying to prove that element so that you would get more assets.
Get more.
So,
Okay.
but I would say in the big overall pie chart, that's a small sliver, right? People without kids argue about property.
Yeah.
That's the big area where we see that in the kid bucket, right? We have people that are divorcing that have children, and so not suddenly now, um, their behavior is magnified, or depending on who's saying it, they're wanting to make an allegation. And what I tell clients all the time, it doesn't matter what the allegation is, right? He's abusive, he's controlling, she's controlling, she doesn't let me do this, or they're bipolar, or they abuse substances, all these things. If there's not a direct line between whatever it is you're accusing them of being or doing to the children, then the judge is less likely to care. Like, we have some judges in our area, like, that have heard them say, I don't, when they're not with the kids, they can drink or smoke
Mhm.
or do whatever
Mhm.
recreational drug they want. I don't care. Um, and if they're with the kids, then is it like, what is the harm? So the first, is there a line between whatever you're asking and the kids, and then is there a thing? And let's assume there is a line or there is a connection. Every judge is going to listen to that and say, okay, well, wait a minute, I'm concerned. But the very next thing that's going to happen, and I tell every client this, turn right back to the person making the allegation and say, okay, what have you done about it to this point? Right?
Ooh.
He's an alcoholic, right? He's a raging alcoholic. He's very abusive. He's verbally abusive. He's throws stuff, all these terrible stuff. Oh, well, that's terrible. So certainly you've never left him alone with the children before, right?
I
Well,
knew
no,
you were going to say that.
I have to travel for work, right? I have to travel for work, so I'm gone
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
This
Okay,
is
well, so,
interesting. Wait, this is
Mhm.
interesting because I see this a lot too in those forums. Like,
Yeah,
judges don't care if there's abuse. They don't care if there's addiction stuff. And what I'm hearing you say is right, because if you didn't care enough, if you didn't care,
right.
and this sounds very blamey, and I don't mean to make it this way, but if you're like, well, I had to work, so I did have to leave them with him. Well, okay. Like, you only cared enough now to get divorced, and now you don't want him involved or her involved or whatever it is, right? What did
Right.
you actively do to stop him from I keep saying him, I don't mean to do that, but the
Yeah.
person from caring for the kids, even though there was abuse to you or substance issues or even mental health concerns, right?
And absolutely, and when it comes to physical abuse, domestic violence, there are, as you both well know, right, There are different syndromes. There are different, that's a somewhat separate, it's not necessarily of, well, he or she was physically abusive to you, what did you do about it? But in regards to the children, right? And what I also
Right.
say, this really sucks. This is the truth about family law in general, is that oftentimes you always have a choice. I can't tell you people, I didn't have a choice. I couldn't do anything else. Of course you had a choice. You just had two really crappy choices.
Yep.
And sometimes
Yeah.
you've got to pick your least crappy choice. And it
Yeah.
does sometimes seem blamey, or that I'm saying you, and I try very hard to preface by, you made the best decision you could at the time. You did, but when you go to a judge, right? You go to this third, in Texas, we elect our judges. So we have this person who may or may not have practiced family law, got elected judge. Yeah, I mean, we've had judges that were political appointees that worked at a government agency, and now they're a family court judge deciding your case. We've
Wow.
had judges that we had a judge that had been declared a vexus litigant as a licensed attorney, meaning they couldn't file a lawsuit without permission. They got elected judge and were deciding cases for 4 years. Like,
Hmm.
you never know who's in front of you. And so my point being, you're going to this person who doesn't know you at all, sees 100 cases a month, is going to get to see this much of your case in the 3 hours or hour and a half you're in front of them. And you want them to decide what's going to happen with your family, or the other side. Their very first question is going to be like, well, what have y'all done to get to this point? What have you done or not done? Why was his alcohol? Why was her smoking pot all day not a problem when you were married and going to work all day, leaving her with the kids?
Yeah.
Suddenly it's a problem because you
Right.
filed a lawsuit and you want to be the primary parent because you think she'll pay you child support. I mean, like, we're not idiots. The clients sometimes think that they're getting one past us. They're like, this isn't our first divorce. We've seen these fact patterns over and over again. So have judges. And so
Yeah.
it's not that they're attacking the person with the problem or the mental, or they're saying the other person had, but they're kind of like, well,
Why
what do you want
now?
me to do? Well, yeah, you want me to do
Yeah.
something, and
Mhm.
you've made no effort, and maybe they're, well, I'm divorcing him now. Okay, great. Well, now is what we're dealing with. What he did 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, the further away it is, what I tell people, what I think, the further away it is, the less impact it has.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Does it suck? Is it, I'm sorry you went through that? This is where we talk about minimizing their feelings and beliefs and fairness and, principle of the matter. But because
Mhm.
it's, as you know, right, getting to the point to filing for a divorce can be a big deal. That step. And so they've been harboring these feelings and emotions for years, and now they want someone to care about it. They want someone to be like, look, this, I got here. This is a big step. Look how hard it was for me to get here. All that should matter. And one of my others, I'll say, well, I don't say this to clients, but it's a case of the spostas. You've got a big case of the spostas. That's supposed to matter. That's that
Yep.
it doesn't. It doesn't. I wish it did sometimes, but we're not in that business. Courts are not in that business. For us kids, and I'm maybe opening up Pandora's box here too, but the guiding principle for kid stuff is what is in the best interest of the children. That's a guiding statute. For property division, you're entitled to what's called a just and right division, and that's just a legal term of art. Doesn't mean anything. So, what does that mean? We have 1,000 reasons and thoughts of what that means. What is
Right.
in the best interest of a kid? I mean, there's an infinite amount of arguments about what is in the best interest of a kid.
Right. Mhm. Yeah, this is a great conversation because I've never really thought about it in that way before. Like, why are you leveraging mental health now and you didn't leverage it before? Why are you leveraging addiction stuff now and you didn't leverage it before or do anything
Yes.
about it before? Like, to me, that is the crux of the entire thing, because when we
Mhm.
talk about divorce, like, that's what it is. Well, they're bipolar, they're this, they're that. Okay, but you had another child too. Did you
You
know?
tripled down with
Did
them.
you?
You made another kid with
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
exactly. You doubled
Yeah.
down, you tripled down, and that was okay, right? So
Yeah.
this is like a whole different way of looking at this in my
It is.
mind. Like
Yeah.
I'm a little bit mind blown about this, but it makes logical sense. Well, I'm doing something about it now. Okay, but 2 weeks ago, the child was still in their care, right? Like,
Yeah, and obviously the facts matter.
yeah.
You know,
I
and
mean,
it
if it
depends.
happened like there was like neglect or some abuse to the child now,
Sure.
yes, and they're taking
Right.
action, of course. Like that's a different
Absolutely. That's
conversation.
an easy answer,
Mhm.
right? Well,
Right.
up until a
Mhm.
month ago, we had
Right.
managed it, or he had never done right. But a month ago he did X, or 2 weeks ago he did Z, or or 3 weeks ago I came home and she's passed out, right? Like all these kinds of
Right.
okay. When you have an event that creates a new line of demarcation, that creates a whole new set of analysis, right? But when you don't, so gotta be careful how I'm saying some of this from a example standpoint. But when you're dealing with like schizophrenia,
Okay.
maybe even undiagnosed schizophrenia, there's a family history of bipolarism, schizophrenia. There hasn't been an event, but there's been behavior that is concerning.
Okay.
These things become relevant, right? I mean, the judges, again, we elect our judges in Texas, so it's not unreasonable to expect a elected official to be concerned with the potential. If I make a decision and 6 months later it's in the news that this child was harmed or killed
Mhm.
because of this person, you know yeah, they're human too, and so they're weighing these things too, and these are big decisions for um, a judge to make. You're limiting parental rights, you're limiting access to children.
Mhm.
But if this, then that, right? And so I do have some cases where those particular diagnoses, unofficial diagnoses, but behavioral, because also getting someone who is bipolar or is schizophrenic to agree that they are those things is also difficult, and getting them to get evaluated, or getting them like no one's going to physically force them to get evaluated, no one's going to physically take them and give them medication. And so depending on what the examples are and what has been the impact on the children, the smaller the child, the more cautious they're going to be, because the children can't tell us things. You got teenagers who are like, yeah, mom is talking about aliens coming,
Right.
every time we're with her, it freaks us out, right? Are they in danger? Maybe not, but that's not a judge. That's not a good position for a judge. They're fine. We're going to wait and see. And so those particular diagnoses have different evaluation points, I think, and have different caution points for judges.
What
Okay.
about the role of the therapist? Because dragging a therapist to the legal altar, so to speak, for one person or the other, this is where we've been. Okay, so when we deal with even just an individual person, it's not even in a couples therapy situation of suddenly they want all of their mental health records, and they want this to support that their partner, that they've talked about their partner in therapy. And so it's documented. They want it documented that they've talked about what a narcissist this person is. And how is that even a relevant thing for court? Like, because we've had attorneys push us and push us and push us to be involved in court cases that really bear no relevance on the case. Also, and I know I'm adding more into this, but like having a therapist in here to kind of evaluate child custody when they shouldn't be evaluating child custody based on only seeing one parent, right? Like, because that parent is saying that's a bad parent. The other person is a bad parent. It's a bad parent. It's a bad parent. Now, I want that documented. I think people believe that just because a therapist puts it in their notes that must be true then. Like there's truth in there.
Well,
So,
in general, people believe if it's written down, it's true, right? And
right.
I am going to address your question, but as a side note, right? Someone, the text messages between parents, right? And it's like, well, you remember, 2 years ago when you cheated on me with that bartender in Barbados, and you did, and you gave me that STD, and they're like, no, I didn't, and they just go back and forth. There's this big verbal. Just because someone wrote it down doesn't make it true, right? And I tell clients all the time, like, do not engage with that. Like, just do not. But people believe that, to your point. And so if a professional wrote it down, well, then it absolutely must be true, right? And so
Yeah.
as a broad scope, I agree with individual adult therapists. What the first, why are they relevant to this story, right? There had better be a connection point to the kids.
Right.
And if there's not,
Right.
what are we doing here, right? If it's a couples counselor, right, well, then maybe they can talk, they disclosed an affair in couples counseling or something like that, right? And now they're saying, no, I didn't. Maybe that is part of why we're getting a couples counselor in there. But an individual therapist for a parent, what are we doing here? I mean, for me, right, when I get those requests from the other side, I tend not to do, I tend not to get into discovery fights. I don't like the whole gamesmanship of not hiding the ball, or not, we're going to disclose all the things. Like, let's put our cards on the table and let's go forward. But when it comes to things like that, I am going to object, and I'm going to do what I can, right? But if I'm in a court arguing, the other side is arguing that we need his or her individual therapist notes, most of the time there needs to be a connection point to the kids, or in our particular situation, maybe if it's related to a fault issue that they're trying to prove. But that seems pretty hard from that connection point. I think that, but that also kind of goes to, there are different types of lawyers who, they know the more we fight, the more we go to court, the more they get paid. That's just the truth. And so
Sure.
I will at least tell that to clients. I will explain that to them. I mean, many times. But I tell, like, I can't decide anything. There's only one decider. That's a judge. You want to go? The other side says no, right? They'll say all the time, well, they're getting everything they want, or they're controlling everything. They're not controlling anything. They're saying, you're asking them, I want X, or I want you to do X. They said no. We'll go to court. That's how that works.
So we've had, and I know I'm like generalizing here, but so we've had guardian ad litems that reach out for mental health records. And what would happen if somebody said, because they have they sign off on whatever, and I'm like, you're not signing off with full informed consent when you're signing off on those things, because most of the times the client has no idea what's written in their notes. They have they're note blind. They have no idea.
Sure.
But I think they
Which
think
we talked to them about.
That's so important.
Yeah, you don't know what's in there.
Very
you really want
important.
it in court? Yeah.
You're making
because
a huge assumption that your whole time your therapist is like, man, she's really great, man.
Yeah.
Her husband really is the worst. Like,
Yeah,
you have no idea.
That's
It's very
the
true.
assumption. That is 100% the assumption. But what would happen if I'm like the guardian ad litem, right? Requests therapy notes, and you say no. I'm not going to provide those notes. I will not sign on that. Because in signing on that, I don't even know what my notes look like. So why would I sign that?
Right. Well,
what would happen? Like, what is
the other side? The other could force an issue to say, have a hearing to say, judge, they're not complying with the guardian's instructions. The guardian is not likely to bring any kind of action. The guardian is going to be like, okay, well, I've asked and they won't bring it to you. So I'm going to evaluate the information I've had. I've asked for this information. Let me get the camera. They're asking for this information. They won't give it to me. So I have to base what I'm doing over here. That could be good or bad, but it also, right, court is artificial. And what should be isn't always what is, right? Perception is reality. And so sometimes, depending on the judge, depending on there's an implication that they're hiding something, or you don't want them to have this information because you know it's bad for you. And so it's civil court. The judge can infer that. The judge can make that, if the guardian is, in their report or in their testimony says, I reached out to all these collaterals. I was trying, because everyone has their this side is saying the bad stuff they did, the other side is saying, and so they've got to vet out what is what. And so when they've reached out to other people and they don't get responses, or they have been told, no, her therapist won't talk to me, or her therapist won't relay her notes, that's usually what they're saying. They're not usually making a judgment, but they're just saying, I couldn't talk to them because of these things. And so sometimes judges take I'm gonna take note of that, or maybe they're doing it because they know it's gonna be bad, or who knows. But
Mm-hmm.
that is sometimes the implication, because if you're not just freely, this whole idea you have nothing to hide, which is not accurate, right? I mean, there's a reason I've
Right.
told my kids, do not talk to principals or vice. If someone comes to talk, you say over and over and over again to call your dad, because they can talk to my kid
Call
without
my
me being
dad.
present. Yeah,
Yeah.
they can
Mhm.
interrogate my child with a cop
Yep.
without me being present.
Yes.
Really?
The law allows, absolutely. And
Yep.
and they can interrogate my kid without a cop. Like a principal can interrogate a child without their parent present, with no violation of the law. So I've taught, and the kid can get in trouble for impeding an investigation or obstruction by not talking. So, but I don't care. I'll take that over
Yep.
just saying. And so it's the same concept of, well, if there was nothing in those notes, or there was nothing in that therapist that would have been bad for them, she would have said something. She would have, authorized, right?
Right.
That's not always true. And I think judges are sophisticated enough to know, if it's not directly related to the kid, why do I care? And so there's a spectrum. I mean, there are some that are adamant, just like, no, that's, why do I care about that?
Mhm.
Others are a little bit more diplomatic about it. But that's when that stuff all comes up. I don't think a lot of that stuff is necessarily relevant unless you've got, but even again, let's say you do have a direct line, it's going to revert back to that last concept we just talked about. Okay, well, why is it important now? It wasn't important 6 months ago.
Right. Right. And by the way, if you're listening and you are a therapist, and you're seeing an individual client, you are not authorized to assess child custody based on that. Like, you are
Yeah, that's a
not
good point.
authorized.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
talk about that for a hot second, because this is very real. This happens,
Yeah.
Jason. I mean, you're like going, yep, and nodding. Like,
Yeah.
there
Stay
is,
in your lane.
yes,
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
stay in your
Mhm.
lane. And I even think about this in terms of, and maybe call this right, wrong, or indifferent. I might be actually creating problems for the attorneys out there. So sorry, I'll pre-apologize. Sorry, not sorry. But if someone reaches out to me and asks me about that, it's no different than if an insurance company reaches out to me to ask me about my client's information. Okay. Because this happens, guys, right? You think your information is safe, but it's not. We've talked about this on the show, right? I will have a very informed risk benefit alternative conversation with my client about the fact that someone has reached out to me to ask me for this information.
Mhm.
Now, legally, for us, depending on your license, what state you're in, right, whether or not you have to give that information is one thing. But when it comes to child custody and when it comes to divorces, I will have clients my attorney is going to reach out to you because they need my notes. And I will say, whoa, wait a minute. Let's talk through this. And I think that probably causes problems sometimes. And often I think it's helpful because then the client can understand that there's benefit, whatever angle you're trying to go for, maybe there's benefit, but there's also risk by you giving all of that information away.
Well, it's
Let me
interesting.
go ahead.
I want to point this one thing out. If you're asking for your mental health records and your spouse or partner isn't going to therapy and doesn't have any mental health records, and you're asking because in there you think that, there's a documentation about what I said about my spouse, guess what? You're the one with the diagnosis, not your partner. And I think that needs to be thoroughly explained, because when you go to a therapist office, no matter even if you're going for your partner, like you're getting a diagnosis if you're using insurance. That's it. You're the one with the diagnosis, which could hurt you in the end. That could end up hurting you if your partner's not going or has no history of mental health intervention at all.
Well, one thing I will say, as an attorney, a huge benefit is an authorization for me to talk to a therapist is huge, because one of the times, a lot of times, right, clients will say, well, my therapist is going to say, blah, 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 or this, okay. But when I'm able to have a phone call with that therapist, right, get that authorization to be like, okay, she's telling me that y'all talked about X, Y, and Z, and that you said, like, I can't tell you how many times. I mean, they say that about lawyers. So my lawyer said X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I
Yep.
didn't say that at
Oh
all.
yeah, the
But my therapist
misinterpretation.
said this. My therapist said he's the classic narcissist. My therapist said she's an alcoholic. Right? I'm like, I doubt that your therapist diagnosed your partner in your session. I mean,
That is the
how
most
crazy is
Highly
that?
unethical
ethical
thing
thing,
a
right.
therapist
Yeah.
could do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
They misconstrue a validation for they agree
Absolutely.
and this is it. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so by
Mhm.
having that conversation, and oftentimes I know that, but it's really beneficial for me to have that 30-minute, hour phone call with therapist to go over, and then I can come back to the client and say, yeah, we're not calling your therapist at all, because here's what's going to happen, or here's what and then, sometimes I don't think that usually blows up the relationship, but it sometimes I think is a paradigm shift of understanding
Yeah.
what the relationship actually is, what you thought it was versus what it is, what you think your therapist is there to do or is going to say for you in court. That's not going to happen. And so I'm able to say that in a different way, because now I have the information. I'm not relying on them saying what they said their therapist is. And now I can say, no, no, no. You may have heard that, but that is not what she said. Or maybe it was what she said, but that's not what she's going to say in court. Right. And so
But
having
it
that-
doesn't even matter, because any other attorney could blast that apart. Like a therapist cannot diagnose a third party they've never met.
Yeah.
Like,
And
so
judges
it
know
doesn't
that
even
too.
matter. Yeah, everybody
I mean,
knows that except the
if
person. Mhm.
Right. And so if an attorney is trying to get a therapist on the stand to diagnose the other side that's never met with them, like, that attorney that's an example of an attorney just parroting whatever their client wants them to say. Because
Right.
Right.
and then they can be like, well, I did what you wanted. I said what you heard me, right? I said all the things. The judge just didn't, go your way. Or the judge disagreed. That judge, right? Like, I just find that to be a very lazy and frustrating way to practice law, to be honest with you. Like,
Right.
let's go have a battle. Let's go argue. We're going to disagree. That's the whole point of court. But there's a better way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I want to talk about something that's maybe a little bit off topic slightly, because having been bullied and pressured by attorneys myself, why is it that attorneys don't want to pay therapists for those consultation phone calls or for writing letters and notes? Like, I've given bills to attorneys, like, here's my bill. And they say, we're not paying that. We'll take you to court. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm the only person in the room that's not getting paid for a court action that has really nothing to do with me. They're fighting out in family court. Yeah.
I mean, I can't answer why, but I mean, that's not how I would operate. I mean, that's fascinating that you're running into that.
Oh
to be
God,
honest
this
with you.
happens all the time.
All the time. All the time.
I mean, is there
Yep.
not a way for you to secure payment before you talk to them through their? I mean, I pay professionals through my retainer. Like, my client, I have a retainer, and if I have to pay
What about a
something, I bill
guardian?
my client.
But a guardian ad litem. That's mostly where we come up with that. The guardian ad litem wants to pull you in.
Oh, I
So,
see. Guardian wants to talk to you for a while. I mean,
mhm.
I don't have any reservations, or I would not have a problem with the concept of you're getting paid for your time. I mean,
Right.
and the guardian should understand that as well. The guardian has a retainer. We pay guardians ad litem. So for them to be like, well, a professional collateral, right? I'm just talking to your neighbor, and neighbor wants to get compensated, pound sand. But a professional who's part of this, yeah, you should be compensated for your time. I mean, that's a really bizarre concept, to be honest with you. I mean, I pay professionals all the time and bill my clients. It's a part of my contract. It's if I have to do that. But oftentimes I'll call the client and say, how do you want to do this? Do you want to pay them directly, or do you want to just take it out of your retainer? We'll bill you in our billing cycle, right? I mean,
Mhm.
of course,
Yeah.
you should get paid.
Or
for your
I'll get
time.
the
I mean,
I'll get the well, we'll pay you 25 cents per page of your note.
Oh yeah, that.
What a deal. Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
deal. I'm like,
Wow.
wow. So I'm really glad to hear you say that, because that just
Oh,
gave
that's
me a little
fascinating.
bit more. Yeah. Oh yeah. And it could be a state. Like, I don't think it has anything to do with states. I think it's just that sometimes the bullying works, and
Yeah. Well, that's
and
probably
the,
more true than anything. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I like to hear you say that. So thank you very
Well, I
much for
mean,
that
as
clarification.
somewhat as a parallel, right? An analogy I use all the time with clients is that, the other side, right? They're bullying, or and I tell them, look, they're acting just like a child. A child pushes boundaries, and
Mhm.
this, just because they're an adult doesn't mean they've learned this. And so you've got to create. They've learned, if I do this, finally you'll answer. Or I do that, you'll respond. So if I was your attorney, I'd be saying, don't respond to them. Don't. An attorney bullying you, you can block their phone. I mean, you don't have to talk to them. So
Mhm.
it's also not cost effective for you to constantly be hiring attorneys to fight attorneys. But I just rarely find
That's
it.
true.
I rarely find it beneficial for me to get aggressive with the third party person I need to benefit my like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, let me bully them, let me attack them, and then that'll get them on board with helping me. Like, that
Right.
doesn't it doesn't work. Just my
Right.
I also don't treat I treat court clerks and the administrative staff. I treat them nicer than anybody. Like, they're the roadblocks to so many things. There's a lot of people who don't get that concept. So
Hmm.
When you filled out your information for this show, Jason, you wrote something that really stood out to me. You said family lawyers aren't the enemy of good outcomes, and neither is the court systems most of the time. The destruction I see in these cases usually starts long before anyone walks into a courtroom.
yeah.
Can you explain that statement?
Well, it kind of goes back to what we were talking to about this history of these behaviors, or they're letting these things happen, or they're not happy, or they're not challenging these things, or but another point I think you alluded in the intro or something like that is this concept of what people think before what they've been told. They allow these misconceptions or myths. There's a ton of them, and they allow that to become their truth, right? Their
Okay.
perception becomes their reality.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
either before they've come to me, they've allowed that perception to become reality to the point where they're introducing that into their life. Or now they're having an attorney, we're in the process, and I'm having to fight to unwind and untie these knots of things they know are true, that they believe to be true, based on what whatever their best friend's divorce, or who, there's always an
Yeah.
example, there's always a
Yeah.
thing. The internet isn't always my friend. And trying to pound that out of them is frustrating at best at times. and
Yeah.
and but it's
Yeah.
a destructive force, right? Like, and it's also hard to get them to understand when the outcome. So I don't know if I'm off topic or not, but the best example I will give you is in Texas. We are not the presumption in Texas is that a one parent, and it doesn't say father, but the presumption is that one parent have what we call a standard possession schedule, which is, for the most part, think of it as every other weekend and an evening, an overnight during the week, and then it's first, third, and fifth weekends, and we alternate holidays and things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
most people, you've heard it is kind of every other weekend is kind of you're the
Yep.
weekend parent, right? That's the presumption
That's what
under
I
the law.
had.
Yeah. There's a big movement for 50-50 possession schedules. There's a whole big fathers' rights groups and all kinds of stuff out there, because a big myth is that, right, courts favor the mothers, and that it's dads have no rights, and that big myth. And there's a lot of law firms that feed on that and try to make them believe that. What will happen inevitably is that a father will come into my office, and they will be like, I'm an equal parent. I should have equal rights. I should have equal time, 50-50, all this kind of stuff. And I'll say, okay, well, that's great. I agree with you. I'm a father as well. What's your kid's doctor? What's your kid's teacher's name? And they're like, I'm sorry, what does that have to do with anything? And
Sorry,
I'll be
what?
like, I'm sorry, who now?
Oh, I know where you're going with
And then
this.
I'll say, okay, well,
Uh-huh.
what about your doctor, your kid's doctor? How can you take him to the doctor? I can't take him to the doctor. I work. I work during the week. I can't go to the doctor. Oh, okay. So your wife is a stay-at-home mom? No, she has a job too. Okay.
Oh.
And so what I say to them is, look, I'm not saying you're a bad parent at all. Every marriage has a division of labor, and it's rare that that people sit down and decide, okay, I'm going to do this and you're going to take out the trash, and then I'm going to do that.
Right.
It
Right,
just
right.
organically happens, right? Even in
Yes.
my own marriage, that's the case. And so when you're going into a courtroom and you're asking a judge right, third party, elected, doesn't know you, gets to see this much of you, they're going to say, well, okay, the best interest of the kid is to maintain the status quo as much as I can.
Right.
We're blowing up the status quo. We're getting divorced. There's going to be two homes. Like, so it's not going to be the same. But how can I keep it as close as possible? Well, most families, and I feel like I have enough data to support this. Most families, the mother does at least 51% more of the emotional child rearing, child carrying the water. Does that mean the dad's bad? No, it just, that's just how, who's the default parent. There's tons of articles and tons of concepts about
Mhm.
who's the default parent, right? When a child gets sick and has to stay home, do you have a discussion about who's going to stay home, or is it automatically assumed that so and so is going to stay home, right? These are big general concepts that people don't think about at all until they're now suddenly faced with wait a minute, I'm an equal parent. And so in Texas, we
Uh-huh.
have different concepts. We have conservatorship that deals with decisions. And so you can have equal decision-making power. That is the default for us, is you have the rights by agreement.
Yeah.
Okay. That has nothing to do with where will the kids be. We call it possession. We don't use the word custody. And so, you might have equal decision-making power, but you have a standard possession schedule. And so I have this conversation with men more than women all the time. And it's not that you can't go fight for 50-50. You can't go fight for equal time. But again, the judge is going to say, well, so far, what have y'all been doing? Well, I get up before they get up to go to work, and I come home. These things matter. Of who has been getting them up, who's been getting them fed, who does their homework at home, like who does the parent-teacher conferences, who takes them to the who schedules doctors. That matters. That's the status quo.
Yeah, it's part of like I think about a child's routine.
Yes.
And I think about like just disruption to routine, right? And who's
And it's
doing all
going to
the
be disrupted.
scheduling, who's taking
Yeah.
the kids to the sports, who goes to all
That's
the
right.
things at school, and it has
These things matter.
nothing to do with like subjectively someone telling you or you thinking you're a shitty parent. And
Right.
it's more about like a child's routine and
Yeah.
the
But that's,
disruption.
yeah.
The disruption to like, well, yeah, if you had to go to the doctor, I mean, God, I don't know what I'm going to have to do. I got to figure something out. I'm not the one that usually takes you. I have no idea what your soccer schedule is or the contact for school. I've never talked to that person before. Should I know who that is?
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
Or they still they
fascinating.
still default back to the other person that has done that all the time, right? Like
they try
that
to,
other
right.
person.
Right.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean,
That's
when
interesting.
we're going through a divorce and we have temporary orders and we've split up, or we're post divorce, right? And we're in mediation or talking about afterwards. I can't tell you how many times be like, well, how am I going to be able to do? What am I going to do when What do you mean? What are you going to? You're going to figure it out, just like every other parent has
So
to
this
figure it
is
out.
less about
Right.
about like if it's the mom or the dad, right? And when you're talking about these group right activists and like that's something that's common too. I hear all the kids will go to the mom, right? It's actually less about that, and it's more so they're defaulting often to the mom because by natural lifestyle and just this is the role that moms often take on. It has nothing to do with the sex of the parent, but
That's
it's more so about this is the role that often happens. I mean, you put 100 moms in a room and 76 of them have this role.
And
It has
here's the
nothing to
counter
do
that I've
with
heard, right?
the fact that they're female. It has nothing to do
Right.
with that. It's just that's the role that they take on.
Well, and I guess maybe naturally or chemically or whatever, biologically, maybe it does that.
It does.
But by
Well,
nature,
there's
the
truth to
woman
that.
who birthed the child is a little bit more invested in this child.
Oh, damn.
But I'll say, because here's what we hear, right? Because I'll say that to clients, right? Because they're walking in saying like, courts favor the mom. I know I'm screwed. I know. and we have this conversation, and I'll say, well, you haven't done it. And immediately, almost certainly well, she won't let me. She's controlling. Early on, right? She's controlled. And so now it's the same argument. Now it's different. Now I'm talking to the husband or the father who's like, I didn't have a choice, right? She controls. Of course you had a choice. You could have said, no, I'm taking them to the
Was she
doctor
holding a
today,
gun to your head when she said, I'm making the soccer schedule?
Every time that when they're like, he or she
She
made me do
it.
something, I'm like,
Right?
oh, tell me about that.
No, they
Because
weren't.
if they did physically hold you down, then that's going to help your legal case. I'm
right.
gonna talk to you
Right.
about that, right?
That's a different
But
story. Yes. She's standing in the
absolutely.
driveway in front of the car going, you're not taking the kids to school. You got to run me over. That shit's
Absolutely.
not
Right.
happening. Come on.
Right. Yeah. No, they were fighting about who's going to take them to the doctor. Like, give me a break. So,
That's
we
interesting.
have that discussion
Nobody
point
fights about
all
that.
the time. Right.
Yeah.
Nobody fights about that. And so,
No.
but now we're divorcing, and now, and I can't tell you how many times. It is fascinating, and male or female. But when they're like, well, wait a minute, that when you see the realization of, hold a second, when they get sick on my day, I gotta leave work, or yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, remember best interest, or you equal parent, or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
these are hard truths that hit people all the time. But I at least try to be more direct and blunt with them about, because after divorce, he or she, the other side, is not your default caregiver.
No.
And I'm always
Yep.
trying to get those clients to set those boundaries up. Like, and there's some legal strategy of like, if they're offering you more time, if they're not taking their time, I don't care what kind of hardship it is on you, you take as much time as they're going to give you, because that allows us maybe to go back in court later and do some stuff. But that's the
Mhm.
lawyer in me. But like, the human in me is like, no,
Mhm.
go figure it out like everybody else.
Right.
But that's
Wow.
the burden
Okay.
that
Well, because
people don't
the
think
state,
about.
the state that we're in, Wisconsin, is doing the 50-50, like they're assuming 50-50 unless there's a reason to not.
Yeah.
And this conversation makes me wonder if it's about like lessening the fight in court, right? Like, because the scenario that you're
that's the
talking
myth.
about, the scenario that you're talking about creates a lot of fighting, I would guess, right? But 50-50 is like, here it is, but then
it
they can
easier?
still fight. They're still
Well,
fighting.
except for no. I mean, for us, when I say 50-50, and most of our judges, requires a level of co-parenting, right?
Yeah.
With our standard possession schedule in Texas, one parent has the children the majority of school days.
Mhm.
If you have a 50-50, and depending on what then we have there's nothing in our code that says that we have various, what we call 2-2-5s, where someone has Monday,
Mhm.
Tuesday, someone has Wednesday, Thursday, and then 4-3s and week on, week off, all this kind of stuff, right? It requires a level of commitment on the parent's part and the ability to communicate with each other
Uh-huh.
that most people don't have in a divorce. There's a reason that there are divorce attorneys all over this place. Most people that can work it out and do that, I never see them.
You
They
don't see
come
them.
to
They
my
don't
office,
show up. Yep. That right there.
So we have
Yep.
lawyers on each side. We're litigating 50-50. That most of our judges, that sentence, they're kind of like, really? You're in a courtroom. Y'all get along so well, and y'all are going to work together as co-parents so well that you're coming to court to
You had to bring it
litigate
to
it?
court, and you couldn't figure it out. Yes. Oh, that's such a good point.
And so
Oh,
for these
boy.
states that are flipping this, right, and saying, okay, nope, they're equal parents. Well, they've never been real. Truthfully, I mean, if we're going to get honest about it, it's pretty rare that there's true equal co-parents in
Yep.
general, in most relationships, most marriages. It doesn't mean that the parents are bad. It doesn't mean that someone's a good or bad. It is.
Mhm.
Like my joke is that if something dies, if there's a dead animal or some sort of rodent or insect or snake, that's my job. My wife doesn't do that. We didn't sit
Right.
down and
We have
decide
boy
that was my
jobs and girl
job.
jobs. We have boy jobs and girl jobs. It's very
I did
too.
sexist, but we do. We do.
I didn't vote for that. I didn't take that on as like, I'll take on the snakes. Like, I don't like snakes.
You get the snakes and the spiders and the dead animals. Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
If there's a rat running through the
God.
house, that's not my wife's job. That's my job.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
So
Yeah, that's what we're not talking about that though. Yeah.
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 But
And
my
yeah.
point being, right, like this idea that, we should, now that we're divorcing, we should just force this equal 50-50 on people that weren't doing that before the divorce. What I'll also say, at least in Texas,
We got
when we talk
about
about
less than a
myths-
minute, Jason. So
Okay.
bring it in real quick. Yep.
there's a myth that people think in Texas, if you have a 50-50 schedule, no one pays child support. And that is just not true.
That part.
Oh,
And
Sure.
so that's often, it's connected. They can say
Wrapped
it's not,
in.
but it's part of the
Yes.
equation. It's part of the
Yes.
For
equation.
sure. For
So
sure.
I just had
well,
those
this was-
conversations with them.
This was a great discussion. Jason, thank you for coming on the show. So
appreciate
many
it.
different ways to view this, that things I have never thought about, which is really, really cool. And that's what it's about, guys, is getting curious and understanding all sides of something. So we are the Gaslit Truth Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Please go ahead, like, subscribe, give us all the stars. Send us some comments after you watch this show and tell us your experiences within this. And again, Jason Wright from Family Law. Thank you, Jason, for coming on the show. We appreciate having you.
I appreciate you having me. I had a lot of fun. This is great. Thanks so much.
Great.